Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Nadex Morning Analysis, where we look at hotspots in the markets today. It is March 31st. I cannot believe it. I don't even know where the time went. We are at the end of the first quarter. Kind of surreal. So my name is Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. With me from Keep Trading Simple is Brian Caprice. Before Brian and I get into looking at some potential hotspots in the markets today, I do need to share this quick disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk, and that this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes only. All right, so interesting enough, it is the end of the quarter. I don't know if we'll see any window dressing for people wanting to make their books look good. U.S. equity markets are all very quiet. Well, I don't want to say they're all. Everything's flat. Nasdaq seeing a little bit of a bounce pre-open, but it's just generally quiet. Where did we see some action overnight? There was a little bit of action in the euro US dollar. The EU came out with their core inflation numbers at 5 a.m. this morning. We saw the US dollar has just been gaining strength. We saw the euro fight back a little bit last night. Then the core inflation number came back. It rolled over a bit. And in the past 24 hours, it sort of ended up where it started. So just a little bit of a ride. We'll take a look at that. Other hotspots that we're going to look at, we'll take a look at, oil. I think it's still moving around following that Suez Canal incident, but it is not being as dramatic as it has been. That being said, there's some news going on in the oil markets with OPEC meeting. You never know if they're going to push things around. And then I think we might want to take just a quick peek over at the metals, maybe gold and silver. But Brian, let's start off. Let's just do a quick look at the euro US dollar with that EU core inflation number coming out. It really goes to, if you want to look, there is opportunity in European hours.
Yeah, I mean, that's a story we've had for a while. Just kind of picking up where we left off yesterday, we talked about the dollar CAD number since we're talking about news this morning. That was a number that just came out literally, 18 minutes ago. We talked about the dollar CAD being red in 24 hours, and we're down about 40. The euro, as you said, has moved and has kind of come back again. It's only moved 4 pips in 24 hours, but most of the movement has actually occurred in the European session. As we've highlighted, and I'll put that here so you can see an arrow on it, the 3 o'clock kind of window is right here. So you can see that most of the movement really came up, grabbed the small level. It was a tested level. So it was something that we had in there, and then it's literally just rolled back, and like I said, we're 4 pips from where we were in the last 24 hours. At this point, I would expect it to continue to roll back down and head right back into this 117.98, that 117 level. We talked about it yesterday about being an area that we were looking for it to come down and base in, and it did do the base. It just didn't collapse lower. It actually held that base. So again, it's just another hit in that level. I would still be looking for a short if we can break below the 116.98 level. But again, remember, we do need the space in that one. But right now, I would say kind of keep it as it is. Like I said, it's just retracing. And, combined with the ADP number we just saw being more negative right now, I would expect that to kind of continue to trace back down again, because really, I mean, that's the last time we found any buyers in here. There's no reason why it just wouldn't slowly kind of chunk back down again until we get back down to that level.
Yeah. So, I just want to kind of bring this up over on the Nadex platform. And I mean, this is just going back, God, if I got to even bring this in, I mean, I'm just going back. I mean, you could see the dollar has just been killing the euro. I mean, it's just down to every time it did try to rally, it eventually sold back, tries to rally, sells off. I mean, we're doing it. It's just kind of doing it again. And now I'm going to come all the way in just to what happened more recently. I mean, you just got to see that trend. That trend is dollar strength. Is really what it amounts to. If you were paying attention last night for trading opportunity here, I'm finally getting it in so you can actually see it. There. I think that actually is going to help a bit. I wonder if I should have made this a 15-minute chart, but you can see here it is. Here's the European Open, and they wanted to fight back. The euro wanted to fight back against the U.S. dollar, and I'm just looking at how many binary strikes it went through for a few hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, it made it up through 10 different strikes in a few hours. Here's this big red candle. It's not that big, but it's a red candle when the core inflation numbers came out, and then it moved through 5 strikes right back down, and it's kind of just simply continued to roll over. So the euro fought back a little bit, but again, if we just now I'm going to do this again. If we just take a look back and what's going on with the euro, this is all dollar strength. And there's going to be times where buyers do step in and try to catch a bottom, and then the sellers just come right back in and whack them. So something to be looking at. The move here might be over, but you might be able to, there still might be some opportunity. Something to at least take a look at.
I mean, if anything, it's just another lesson. Like we mentioned a lot of times that although it is a kind of difficult time if you're on the East Coast, the farther West Coast you go, the easier it is to trade that European Open. And again, it really boils back down to priorities. That this is something that you guys are really interested in doing. Every day, I keep mentioning that there's something going on with the European Open out there, and there's a lot of moves off of it. So, it's kind of one of those things. If trading is going to be a priority for you, sometimes you got to make those hard decisions. And like I said, as an East Coaster, it's very hard to trade it, but you can see every morning there's movement. We see it in the oil market today as well too.
Yeah, and I was originally a West Coaster, and I'm dragging a little bit today, not because I was watching that, but because I had to watch the end of the UCLA game. UCLA made it to the Final Four, beating Michigan, and now I'm tired. That's how it goes.
Hey, priorities, right?
You gotta make choices.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a look at oil. I think oil would be,
Sure.
It's been all over the place. It looks like it's settling down a little bit, but there's still some potential news that could come out. Who knows?
Yeah. Yesterday we were talking. We wanted to get. We were hoping that we could get this thing down to 59.64. We wanted to be down there before the oil inventory report. It ended up stabilizing itself and really just went completely flat. It really did nothing. It rallied back up, and it kind of hit this little small level here, which is one that we could have seen. It was tested. It hit it at about 3:00 this morning. So it was another one of those situations where you had a 30-minute level, again, level of basing, something that was tested, that triggered at the European Open, and this one had a pretty decent fall too. It dropped about 97 cents. That's a lot of movement in 6 hours, and then since that time has retraced a little bit and is continuing to push back down. So it is unfortunately kind of still sitting in the middle of the curve. The oil inventory report today at 10:30 is expecting there's going to be a little bit of a downdraw, 1.3 million barrels. I will say though, if you scroll down and kind of look to see what else there's talk about. I can't find it right now at figures, but actually here it is right here. Kuwait is actually starting to calling on OPEC Plus to fully comply with the oil production cuts. If you remember last month, they were saying that they weren't going to release the meeting notes for what the changes were going to be. Countries are starting to get a little bit greedy. They wanted to kind of say, hey, demand is back, price is up. We should, start making, releasing more, right? And again, they start doing that destabilizes the price of oil very, very quickly, but they weren't going to tell us what it was. Now one of their members is actually saying, hey, listen, you guys need to comply fully with the cuts and stop doing the kind of the hidden stuff in the back that you're not releasing. And remember, this comes with them having a big meeting tomorrow. So again, OPEC Plus meeting all day tomorrow. It's the full OPEC group. So it does put us in an interesting situation. Like I said, the move may have already occurred. We're driving right back down to where we were before the inflation number where it came out for Europe. I would still say I think 59.64 is a level to watch out for. I don't know if the next hour and a half we can get fully down there. That would require another, about 60-cent drop. Not that it can't do it. But then you got to be wondering, from European session to U.S. session, $1.41 or $1.42, that's typically what a full oil move looks like. So it's
Right.
already done a full move before the oil release. Has all the trading occurred in it is the big question. And are you going to get stuck in something where we have zero movement for the rest of the day? So that's just kind of some of the That's just kind of some of the worry on it. And we do have obviously Biden unveiling, kind of the spending and $2 trillion infrastructure package on Wednesday. I don't know the time on it. It doesn't say it here, but it's coming out today. That's also something that they're going to be looking forward to. Again, it's more spending. It could affect gold. It could definitely, I don't know. There's a lot of things that it can do, particularly with the overall markets because they're close. So, getting that unemployment, the employment change number being not as high, kind of already puts the news like, hey, listen, that's the only news we got this morning. We're going to talk about that.
Right.
Like I said, whenever the president speaks or somebody like Powell speaks, the market definitely kind of follows and watches that. So, a couple different things going in play, especially for oil today.
Yeah, here, I just want to take a quick peek at oil again. This is on the binary options. I think this is just sort of one of those markets where the binary options might provide the best opportunity. Again, every one of these is going to go to 0 or 100. We've had this oil volatility, some of it, if I back it out some. We know we had the whole incident with the Suez Canal. And it was definitely causing some swings. 9% of the world's oil was going through that canal. They eventually solved it. But during that little hiccup, there were some fairly significant price swings. There's still some movement in oil. But I just think that the range that you'll see it bounce around in might be a little bit more contained, not as wildly dramatic. I know that these are levels that Brian's pointed out before. We've had that 61, roughly 61 and a half, 61.40 level up above, which we touched last night in the middle of the night. And then there's the 60 level, which is a shorter level. 60 is where it's actually been finding that support a bit lately. Again, there might be some opportunities with some of these binary options as it bounces around in between some of these levels. But again, you got to pay attention and know that there is an OPEC meeting. I mean, they were meeting, right, Brian? They met yesterday, but then there's the
OPEC Plus group yesterday. Yeah, tomorrow's the full OPEC meeting.
Right, and so you just don't know what they're going to say. And even though you have to take what they say with a bit of a grain of salt. I mean, oil is a supply or demand driven. So when OPEC talks, people start understanding the implications on what it could potentially mean for supply, whether they're going to actually hold true it or not, just like Kuwait's not paying attention to the rules.
Mm-hmm. Kuwait's saying we need to follow the rules. It's Russia and I forget who the other one was. There's two of them that have basically were the driving factors for that one. And that's what we see. When price is low, they're like, yeah, we'll do cuts to raise the price. And then once the price is higher, they want to start producing and sending more out so they can get the higher prices on it. Because again, whenever they do a production cut, they're losing money. And it's one of those things that they just can't lose money forever. So they will manipulate the data. And remember, we saw that the news we saw yesterday was OPEC basically lowering their demand estimates because they were like, oh, yeah, demand's going to be super strong this year, right? And that's what rose the price up. And now they're like, well, nobody's seeing it. Europe's having a lot of problems. We're seeing some of the inequalities out there with vaccine distributions. Now they're like, I guess we can't make those statements without substantiating it. So now we're going to revise it back down again so we don't get in trouble because it goes back to relevance is really what OPEC does.
And then we can always hope we get that a true infrastructure bill, and maybe U.S. will start spending and building, and that all will require oil. Maybe that'll help. Who knows? All right. I see you got Jin with you. You want to talk about shiny objects, gold, silver, just to kind of wrap it out today?
Yeah. I mean, I would say gold is really kind of flatlined as well. And again, it's one of those things that we need inflation. We haven't seen it yet. Talking about spending a lot of money. Now, I was looking really quick just for like kind of the top things. This is this funding is another one of those ones that it's going to roughly include $2 trillion spending over 8 years and would raise the corporate tax rate to 28% to fund it. That's not really good for the overall economy as well as business either. We've seen that in the past. We already kind of have not the best situation. That's probably why gold is kind of like, because again, remember, gold needs inflation. That's why people go to it. It does serve a bit as an industrial metal. but for the most part, it's really a hedge for inflation. Silver is also kind of taking a little bit of a balance. It's a level that we marked off. It was actually a 4-hour level. So I mentioned yesterday that, listen, while it's a level, it's one of those ones you need to be a bit careful with because it is just a lot of risk on that one. On the smaller time frames, again, I would say it's kind of lost. I mean, like I said, infrastructure is good, but it's more for things like natural resources, not silver. When he means infrastructure, they're not talking about electronics and the things that silver is used for. Chinese expansion, that uses a lot of silver, right? Our expansion, not so much. So it's kind of there. Maybe again, if he talks about spending more and more and more and more and more, those things will drive, inflation, and that could provide a bump later today. But like I said, I don't have his speech. I don't know what he's going to say. So
right.
Those are the two things I would say. They're both low in the curve. I'd be looking for buy opportunities, but neither one of them is in an ideal situation for me personally to go long.
There we go. All right. With that, if you got any questions for Nadex, please email us customerservice@nadex.com. We can't help if you don't reach out to us. Brian is also very accessible. If you got any questions for Brian, you can email him support@keeptradingsimple.com. Again, it is the end of the quarter, so we don't know if there's going to be any window dressing for equities. I guess we'll see how that ultimately plays out. And Brian and I will be back tomorrow morning. So please join us tomorrow morning for the last day of the trading week. Remember, it is a shortened week. Friday is Good Friday, and Nadex will be closed. In fact, I think global markets are actually closed. So with that, let's get at it, and want to wish everyone good luck in the markets. We'll catch you tomorrow.